Okay, so some of you may have seen the video that I posted. That particular video does not have any sound to it, so I'm trying to recreate it. You can follow this one if you want to, or you can use the other one. The one thing I would like to point out though is that in the other video, I'm drawing with my hand in a pencil grip. For this one, I'm going to draw it in an overhand grip, and that's what I would prefer for you all to do, simply because you need to gain that muscle memory and get used to holding your pencil that way. So that's how I want you all to hold your pencils. Okay. So one of the things that you always want to pay attention to when you're starting out a still life is paying attention to placement, where things are on the picture plane. And when we talk about a picture plane, we're actually talking about this entire area. Some people just say it's another way of saying your drawing surface that you're using. Always remember that if we were looking at this on a table, you want to start with what object would be closest to you. If this was actually sitting on a table in front of us, this orange would be what is closest to us. And knowing that, that means that we would draw that on the lower level of the page when we're starting out. And if this was a landscape or outdoor scene, we would call this area right here the foreground. The oranges that are back here would be the middle ground, and the flowers in the middle ground, and then the background would be that white area in the back. So a couple of things I want to remind you of. As you draw, you want to make sure that you are drawing very lightly. We always can go back and make things darker. Okay. So that's something you really want to pay attention to. You do not have to apply a lot of pressure to the paper. So we're going to start out with some drawing warm-ups first. Practice drawing some circles and different types of lines. And that's how we're going to start. Okay, so make sure you are holding your pencil in the overhand grip. You want to make sure that you are engaging your shoulder like we talked about in class, and just practice making circles on the page. And you want to make sure that you are making this movement more than once. Avoid doing this, making a single movement. You want to build that muscle memory, so you want to make sure that you are going over those lines more than one time. Play around with variety, making sure that you make your circles different sizes and they can overlap each other. So you can just kind of continue to do this and fill up the entire sheet of paper. And if you are left-handed, you would hold your pencil this way, okay? I'm going to flip my paper over to the back side. And I'm just going to start to do some connecting exercises. So I'm going to make 2 points, and I'm just going to work on trying to connect those with one movement. And these exercises require you to engage. Ooh, that one is bad. They require you to engage your shoulder. And I didn't make a dot that time. And so once you do that, you can play around with making lines that are parallel to each other, lines that are vertical, and we practice making those S movements so that we can get curved lines, but we're just filling the page. Don't worry about it looking, you don't have to worry about if it looks neat or anything. You're just trying to get practice and warmed up before we start our actual drawing. Now I will say this, in this particular drawing, you're gonna be drawing some oval shapes in here, so we'll practice drawing some ovals too. And most students, when they're attempting to draw circles, they end up drawing ovals simply because they're not making a big rotation with their arm, which would create a circle, as opposed to a oval. And for the sake of this video, I am actually drawing darker than I normally would because I need you to be able to see it. And I'm going to step away for a second because the sun is coming out and it's making ugly shadows on my paper. So I am going to step away for a second. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So I'm just going to continue to fill this page up. If you don't have white paper, you can use your notebook paper. That's fine. And now I'm just changing the angles. Okay, that's enough warming up. So we are going to move on to the actual drawing. And the cool thing about still lifes is that anybody can set them up, because I'm pretty sure you might have some objects around your house that you could use for a still life drawing too. I don't know if your parents want you cutting up fruit and you're not going to eat it, but you do have some of these things at home that you could set up. So I'm going to start with this orange that is right here. And I'm going to use my overhand grip. And if you want to give yourself some guidelines, okay, I'm going to draw over this a little bit. Let's say you're looking at the bottom of your page. If I were to put like a guideline right here, you'll kind of see that this orange is touching that line. If you want to, you can put a guideline at the bottom of your paper. Not required, but you could put that there for yourself. Holding your hand in the overhand grip, we are going to lightly make a circular shape. Now, it's not a perfect circle, and I feel like it needs to be a little bit wider at the top. So I'm going to start out with this shape. There's a little curve underneath that shape, so I'm going to sketch that in. And we're drawing really loose right now, so don't worry about fine details and things like that. Next, once you've placed your first object, that's going to help you draw your second object, which will be that particular orange slice. If we look at the basic shape that's here, this area is more of a oval shape. I also want to remind you, this image is also in Canvas under Thursday's tab. So if you want to look at it on your computer screen, you could do that too. Also, when I'm thinking about placement, there is an implied diagonal line right here. If it helps you, you can go ahead and make that implied diagonal line here. When we draw these guidelines and things, they're not meant to stay there forever. You're going to erase them eventually, so make sure that you are drawing them lightly. So now I'm going to use my overhand grip and try to sketch in a oval type shape here. The first orange is partially covering the second one, so your line is going to start about right here on this orange. And so you're going to start here and curve this line and bring it around to this edge over here. If I am drawing too fast for you, you can always pause the video and go back. That's why I'm trying to pre-record it, so you have the ability to stop if you feel like I'm moving too fast. Once again, if we're using guidelines, if I go here, there's an implied slanted line there as well, and so I'm going to put that line right there. And then I'm going to start to draw this one, but as I draw, I have to pay attention to where it hits over here. So right now it's looking like it should hit the top of this orange right there. Okay. Next, I'm going to look at the diagonal line that is here. And I'm gonna eyeball it a little bit. I feel like my drawing is a little bit bigger than the drawing that's on this paper. So I'm gonna draw a little guideline for myself right here. And I'm gonna pay attention to where the orange is hitting over here. I feel like it's like somewhere in here. Okay, look at me. I think I lined that one up pretty good. I think it's a little too big, so I might need to shrink that a little bit. And the way I'm kind of determining whether something is too big or too small is because I'm comparing it to the size of the other objects that I've already drawn on here. I'm not a big fan of erasing in the beginning stages of a drawing, but I guess I'm gonna have to go ahead and do that because this is a little off. So I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. And I know sometimes it's going to take a while to get that light touch, getting used to like not pressing down hard with your pencil, but the more you practice, the better you will get at it. This last one, that is the angle that we are looking at. Now, when Ms. Burns was in school, our teachers, well, we didn't have good computers like y'all have. So we had to draw our actual still lifes from setups that the teachers set up in class. So that was a little more challenging because we couldn't measure in the same way. There is a way that you can measure when you're drawing something from observation. It's a little trickier to teach. Trust me, I think most of you will probably like drawing from a photograph better than drawing from life, but drawing from life is the way to go if you actually want to make some major improvements with your drawing skills. Okay, so we have most of the basic shapes set up right now. So we're going to move on to the flower. Okay, we're moving on to the flower. And I'm going to look at the placement, like where I feel like this hits on this orange. But in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of draw a line right here, because that's where we have that white area in there. And I'm just going to put a guideline there for myself. And I'm also looking at how far away this is before I place my line over here. So I'm going to start I'm gonna make a little guideline for myself, a little mark right there. I feel like that's where that leaf should hit. So I'm gonna start here. I'm also looking to see how much higher this is than this orange right here. So I feel like that's pretty good. I think I have it leaning a little too much. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna keep it where it is. Now this was the tricky part for me when I drew this the last time, drawing this curve for the stem right here. But I'm gonna give it a go and just make this go upward. And I'll go back and clean this stuff up later. Okay, so that's what I have so far. When I get to the flower, I'm gonna zoom in some more so that you all can kind of see like the details that are in here a little bit. So let me go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna bring my paper over a little bit because I'm trying to get both images in here. Okay, so when I look at the basic shape of this, it sort of has like a fan shape to it, the basic shape. So I'm just making that little outline. So I want you all to make a fan shape. And that kind of starts out like that. And now I'm going to start to work out some of the individual petals. I'm going to outline this with an ebony pencil so that you can see it, the shapes a little bit better. Not just for you, but for me too, because I don't have on my glasses. Okay, so we are going to start with this area right here. I'm going to utilize this negative space that's right here because I know what that shape should look like right there. And once I have that placed, that's going to help me draw the next shape. And this line is not going to go all the way down because it doesn't go all the way down right here. This other petal intersects that area. And then we have this petal that falls off to the side. And it curves around on the side over here. The last shape that we're going to draw is this shape at the top. I'm going to look to see where it connects with this petal here. And let me slide my paper over some. And I hate you all don't have a physical copy that you can like place right by you, because then you can point at things and place them a little bit better. So that is the basic shape of our flower. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see the entire thing. Now I'm going to zoom back in so we can add some of these details in here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom into this section right here. Let's slide my paper up. And now, because I have most of my basic shapes drawn, I'm going to go into my pencil grip to add details. Now I'm going to draw a little bit darker in certain areas. But for you all, if you want to lightly put these things into place, you can do that. And it took me a minute to get this set up, so it is like almost 12:30, time for the live class to start. So I am rushing here a little bit. And I just personally find that the pencil grip offers me a little more control when I'm doing details. But when I'm establishing my drawing, I like to use the overhand grip because I don't get so caught up in trying to make things look perfect. And even now, this is kind of sketchy, so I need to bring this over. On this side, you need to make one more line really close to the edge where that orange color happens to be. And I will end up erasing right here to connect that. I'm going to go ahead and make this line darker. We will come back to this on a different day and shade these areas. On the line, you can see some of the bottom edge here. Now I'm going to go over this petal. And it sits here, so I'm going to have to erase where it overlaps so it looks like it's actually in the front. And the stem is a little skinnier, so I made that adjustment. My petals are pretty detailed, so I don't have to do a whole lot here. I'm just trying to smooth the lines out a little bit. And the last thing I'm going to do is draw in my cast shadows that are down here. So those are going to start off to the side of this orange and make their way under this one and come around here, and then the leaf cast shadow is going this way. Oops, I'm sorry, you couldn't see that part, but it's right there. And I'm gonna zoom out. So here's my cast shadow under the bottom. We do have to put our horizon line back here, and it hits about right here on this orange. And I do something called air tracing, which is basically where I pretend like I'm still drawing, and I pick my pencil up and then I let it hit on the other side, and that is the other side. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to go into this live, and we will work on shading this on a different day. Okay.